One-town stories of the Wild West were entirely fabricated. This week we tell you all about Palisade, Nevada on a brand new episode of The Internet Says It's True. Welcome to The Internet Says It's True, where every week we learn something that sounds made up but is really true, part of the WCBE podcast experience, available on all podcast platforms, as well as the NPR app and website. My name's Michael Kent. This is episode 203. Thanks for doing the thing where you choose to listen to this podcast instead of all the others, or in addition to all of the others. I'm on the road recording this one in a hotel room. Let me ask you a question. What are you doing when you listen to the show? Do you listen on Monday mornings? Is it a coffee and chill kind of thing? Is it a driving into work thing? I love to hear from listeners, so give me a shout out. Let me know. Also, don't forget to log into Patreon. Sign up to be a Tizitor. You can do that at patreon.com/Michael Kent. That is the best way to support the show. If every listener gives $1, that's a few days a month I can stay home from touring. And as much as I love performing, traveling is getting old now that I've been doing it for more than 2 decades. You can go there to see bonus stuff. And for the gold level members, I uploaded 3 of my live shows from the tour last week. There will be 2 more coming soon. That's just for the gold members, but the other members get a whole host of other goodies. So sign up today to be a Tizitor. That's patreon.com/Michael Kent.
I am once again asking for your financial support.
Also, don't forget to pick up your show t-shirts and mugs. I can attest to their quality. I have them myself, and you can get those on our website, theinternetsaysitstrue.com. So, this story this week is a pretty interesting one to me. It's been on my list for quite a while. I've been wanting to do this one. It's all about a crazy Wild West town in Nevada. If you've ever taken the train to the Grand Canyon on the Grand Canyon Railway, it starts in Williams, Arizona, and before you get on, you get treated to a Wild West show with a fake shootout and whatnot. Then on the train ride back, the bandits come and pretend to rob the train. It's a fun little recreation of the old Wild West. But those types of things really did happen back in the days of the Wild West. As mining towns started popping up in the primitive American West, men mixed with liquor, money, and the disappointment of not finding the success that they sought led to thieving, fighting, guns, and a lack of law enforcement, which then led to some of the stories that would populate an entire genre of literature back east. You've heard of Tombstone, Deadwood, Dodge City, Cody, and Santa Fe, but one town that's somewhat lost to history was the rough and tumble mining town of Palisade, Nevada. The name Palisade doesn't exactly evoke an image of the Wild West, not by today's standards anyway. It sounds like the name given to a nice quiet community filled with good people. And when early train travelers visited the town, that's exactly what they saw. Let's go back. When the Wild West started growing with boom towns and the gold rush, eager tourists back east left home seeking adventure. Not everyone who ventured west was looking for precious metals. Once word got out about the gunfights, the saloons, the fighting with local tribes of Native Americans, some people wanted to see it for themselves. They'd read about these things in dime novels and newspaper columns. With the expansion of the railroads westward, they had the opportunity to travel there themselves without actually having to pick up and move. One such railroad was the Central Pacific. The Central Pacific didn't exist for a long time because it was quickly absorbed into larger railroads, but when it did, it spanned from Sacramento, California eastward to Promontory, Utah, where it met up with the Union Pacific. One of the stops was the mining town of Palisade, Nevada. At the time, Palisade was the hub for several nearby mining camps like Mineral Hill and Hamilton, Eureka. Because it was a hub, it grew to have stores, a post office, and a population peak of 600 residents. When tourists looking for Wild West adventure stopped, they had a lovely time, but often wrote that they felt, quote, let down because they didn't see what they had expected. They expected the gun battles, the fights, the Native Americans, the dirty, ruffled Wild West they had read about. That was until 1876. When the passenger train stopped for lunch at noon and people got off, they saw Frank West and Alvin Kittleby involved in a heated exchange near the Palisade train station. West was leaning against the fence of a corral and was approached by Kittleby, who yelled, "There you are, you low-down polecat. I've been waiting for you. I'm gonna kill you for what you done to my poor little sister." The bystanders then witnessed Frank West draw a revolver and shoot Alvin Kittleby in the chest. The tourists watched, screamed, and ran for cover back in the safety of the train. Citizens of Palisade scurried to disarm West and carried Kittleby's lifeless body away. Soon the train was once again departing, and as the train chugged into the distance, the townspeople of Palisade laughed and cheered. The entire thing was a show, all of it fake. We'll tell you more after the break.
If you love listening to this podcast every week and you want to show your support, that would mean a great deal to me. You can do that by becoming a Patreon member. We've got members at all levels, whether you want to pledge $1 a month or $10 a month. Just think about the value that you receive from this show. And if you like the histories and the stories that you learn about or the jokes that you hear, and if you think that they're worth it, consider signing up. For that, you get every episode ad-free and a week early, access to bonuses like the unedited videos of the guest appearances, and 20% off all merchandise. You can sign up today at patreon.com/Michael Kent. That's patreon.com/Michael Kent. There was a time that humans used 100% organic products as healing balms and moisturizers for their skin. Well, I've partnered with an awesome company that wants to get back to those times. Fatco sells organic and responsibly made tallow-based skincare products. For centuries, humans used tallow in skin moisturizers and healing balms, but unfortunately, the topical application of these fats seemed to stop around the same time that animal fats stopped being considered part of a healthy diet. A lot of modern skincare products do more harm than good by stripping your skin of its natural oils. Let's change that. You can try them out now at fatco.com and get 15% off your order by using my promo code INTERNET. Go to theinternetsayitstrue.com/deals for the link.
We're living through the most dynamic time in human history, and what we do as leaders matter. We are the ones that create the leverage to shift directions of our companies, our nonprofits, and our communities. As a leader or an emerging leader, please join me for a dynamic conversation with top thought leaders, academics, and executives to learn more about how to elevate your leadership. I'm Maureen Metcalf. Join us at the WCBE podcast experience at wcbe.org.
You may be familiar with Westworld. It's a popular dystopian science fiction franchise first written and directed by Michael Crichton in 1973, but made popular recently by the HBO series with the same name. Basically, it's about a Wild West town that tourists can enter where they can feel like they've gone back in time. They witness shootouts and fights and interact with the town as if it's real, but all of the residents of the town are robots. It was created to let people experience the adventure and danger of an Old West town. The tourists traveling on the Central Pacific Railway from San Francisco, Sacramento, or Chicago were looking for the same thing. They didn't know what they'd experience when they got to cities like Palisade, but they had read about it in fantastical dime novels and stories. So when that trainload of passengers saw Frank West murder Alvin Kittleby in cold blood in the streets near the train station, they were seeing their fantasies realized. They never knew that the whole thing was a setup. It was all fake. So why did the citizens of Palisade agree to go along with this plan? I mean, a lot of people were required to make this plan work. Well, this was a tourist stop, and it's possible that people in Palisade had heard tourists complain that it wasn't the Wild West they'd imagined. It was in their best interest to give people what they wanted, to get them to go back home and tell stories. Another theory is that they were just bored. Whatever the reason was, it didn't stop with West and Kittleby. They started staging events to take place every time a train stopped. There'd be fights in the streets, frequent shootouts, brawls breaking out all over. People would walk through the main street of the town and witness a bank robbery or a duel between two angry men. Many times there would be elaborate backstories, and citizens of Palisade would intervene. At one point, when the train pulled into the station, a man was staged to appear to be hanging from a noose at the station. When someone would, quote, die, they'd be dragged into Johnson's saloon, something that seemed to go unnoticed by the tourists, especially considering that these victims would be revived and come outside to watch the next event. Shooters would use blanks in their guns, and victims would use cattle's blood from the nearby slaughterhouse to make it look more realistic. As this went on, local Native Americans from the Shoshone tribe even got in on the action, staging war parties and huge, elaborate battles with the men of Palisade. They'd stage massacres and even pretend to stab and scalp victims. For small sums of money, they'd agree to be tied up and laid on the train platform, accompanied by proud lawmen. They had essentially created one of the first theme parks in existence, except the tourists didn't know it was a theme park. They didn't know it was all fake. Each time they left thinking they had witnessed the real Wild West, but not before they screamed and ran back to the safety of their train cars, sometimes even jumping underneath the train to hide. They didn't know the truth, that Palisade was so safe that it's been said it went years without even having a sheriff. By all accounts, these fake shows went on for just over 3 years, from 1876 to 1880. In those years, Palisade had gained the reputation and nickname of the most violent place west of Chicago. Journalists who traveled in on the trains would go back home and write about the violence and record what they had just seen to stoke the wild imaginations of their readers. The violence was just a mirage, much like the town of Palisade, Nevada today. If you visit the area that used to be Palisade, it's mostly all gone. There are just a few structures and foundations left. When mining dried up, it became a ghost town. There's no doubt that the accounts of those few years in Palisade helped to inspire countless works of fiction about the Wild West, and all of those bystanders who saw it firsthand were none the wiser. Palisade, Nevada was the Wild West that never was. The internet says it's true. It's time for Yap Yap with me and a friend, and today I have no friends. So you are my friend here in my hotel room, and I decided to do something unusual. I asked ChatGPT to come up with 20 multiple choice questions about the Wild West, and we're going to play that quiz together, so let's see how we do. And since I've been doing the new segment where I ask guests to give me a fact they think I might not have heard about, let's do the same with ChatGPT and see if our robot overlords, our fake Westworld, fake robot Western people know something that we don't. I typed, quote, "Tell me a true fact you think there's little chance I've heard before." And here's the fact. ChatGPT says, here's a quirky fact you might not have heard. Octopuses have 3 hearts and blue blood. 2 of the hearts pump blood to the gills, while the third pumps it to the rest of the body. The blue color comes from a copper-rich protein called hemocyanin, which is more efficient than hemoglobin, the iron-based molecule that makes our blood red, at transporting oxygen in cold, low-oxygen environments. I can say I did not know that. It's interesting that it says octopuses because I was at an event recently where someone said, hey, here's something you might not know. What's the plural of octopus? And of course, everyone says octopi. But apparently, octopi would be if octopus was a Latin root word, which it's not. It's apparently a Greek root word. And so the correct plural should be octopodes. Octopodes. But who knows if that's true. The internet says both ways. So 2 facts for the price of 1, which was nothing. This is a podcast. You paid nothing. All right, let's get into our quiz. Now, normally when I do these with just you and I, we do, fun little TikTok tick clock sounds to wait. We're not going to do any of that. There's 20 questions. Let's just have fun with it. Which famous lawman is associated with the gunfight at the OK Corral? A, Billy the Kid, B, Wyatt Earp, or C, Jesse James? The answer is B, Wyatt Earp. Wyatt Earp was a lawman and gambler in the American West. He was known for his role in the gunfight at the OK Corral in Tombstone, Arizona. That was 1881. And of course, that became legendary Western folklore. 2, which state was the location of the gold rush that began in 1848? Was it A, Nevada, B, California, or C, Colorado? The answer is B, California. The California gold rush started in 1848. This was when gold was discovered at Sutter's Mill, and then we all know what happened. This led to a massive influx of prospectors and settlers. So what was the primary purpose of the Pony Express? Question 3. A, transporting gold, B, delivering mail, or C, trading goods with Native Americans? The answer is B, delivering mail. The Pony Express was a mail delivery service that operated from 1860 to 1861. Whoa, I didn't know it was only a year. Using horse riders to carry mail across the American West, it significantly reduced the time it took to send messages from east to the West Coast. Number 4, which notorious outlaw was known as Billy the Kid? A, William Bonney, B, William Cody, or C, William Dalton? A, William Bonney. Billy the Kid, born William Henry McCarty and later known as William Bonney, was an infamous outlaw in the American West. He was involved in several shootouts, became a legendary figure after his death at the hands of Sheriff Pat Garrett. And earlier this year, or maybe it was last fall, I visited the gravestone of William Henry McCarty, William Bonney. And fun fact, answer C, William Dalton, relative of mine. Hey, that's fun. Question 5. What year did the Battle of Little Bighorn take place? Was it A, 1865, B, 1876, or C, 1880? The answer is B, 1876. The Battle of Little Bighorn occurred in Montana Territory. It was a significant conflict between the U.S. Army, led by George Custer, and the combined forces of Lakota, Cheyenne, Arapaho tribes, and it resulted in a major victory for the Native Americans. Number 6. Which U.S. state was the final stop on the historic Oregon Trail? A, Oregon, B, California, or C, Utah? I'll give you a second with this one. No, it's A, Oregon. The Oregon Trail was named after Oregon. It was a historic east-to-west route used by pioneers, of course, traveling to the western United States. And the terminus was in the Willamette Valley in Oregon, and it was a key destination for settlers seeking new life. Question 7. Who was the famous sharpshooter known as Annie Oakley? Was it A, Martha Canary, B, Phoebe Ann Moses, or C, Belle Starr? The answer is B, Phoebe Ann Moses. Annie Oakley was born. Phoebe Ann Moses was a renowned sharpshooter and exhibition shooter in the late 19th century. She became famous for her performances with Buffalo Bill's Wild West show, and I believe she was originally from Ohio, if I remember correctly. Cannery and Starr were people from Deadwood. Number 8. Which railroad was responsible for building the western portion of the first transcontinental railroad? A, Union Pacific Railroad, B, Central Pacific Railroad, or C, Southern Pacific Railroad? The answer is B, Central Pacific Railroad. You should have gotten this one because it was the subject of our episode today. It was responsible for constructing the western portion of the Transcontinental Railroad. It started in Sacramento, and it connected with the Union Pacific Railroad there in Promontory Summit, Utah. That was in 1869. Number 9, what was the purpose of a cattle drive? A, transporting cattle to railheads for shipment, B, moving cattle to new grazing lands, or C, delivering cattle as gifts to neighboring tribes? The answer is A, transporting cattle to railheads for shipment. Number 10, who was the Native American leader at the Battle of Little Bighorn? A, Sitting Bull, B, Crazy Horse, or C, Geronimo? The answer is A, Sitting Bull. Sitting Bull was the Hunkpapa Lakota leader who played a crucial role in the Native American victory at the Battle of Little Bighorn in 1876. And although Crazy Horse was also a key leader in the battle, Sitting Bull's leadership was instrumental in rallying the tribes against Custer's forces. 11. What was Deadwood primarily known for during the Wild West era? Was it A, gold mining, B, silver mining, or C, farming? The answer is A, gold mining. It was in the Black Hills of South Dakota, became famous in the late 19th century as a gold rush town, and of course now is famous for the really incredible show. Go check out Deadwood if you haven't watched that yet. What was the main cause of the conflict during the Range Wars in the American West? This is question 12. The main cause of conflict during the Range Wars: A, land ownership disputes, B, mining rights, or C, cattle rustling? The answer is A, land ownership disputes. They were primarily over land ownership and grazing rights between cattle ranchers, sheep herders, and homesteaders, and these disputes often led to violent confrontations in the late 19th century. 13. Which legendary Western figure was known as Buffalo Bill? Was it A, Bill Hickok, B, Bill Cody, or C, Bill Dalton? The answer is B, Bill Cody. William Buffalo Bill Cody was a famous scout, bison hunter, and showman. He's best known for his Wild West shows, which popularized, this romantic image of the American West. By the way, in my hotel, the air just kicked on, so sorry if you hear that and it's distracting. 14. Who was the famous lawman known for cleaning up the town of Dodge City, Kansas? A, Bat Masterson, B, Wyatt Earp, or C, Wild Bill Hickok? The answer is A, Bat Masterson. He was a lawman, buffalo hunter, and gambler from Ford County, Kansas. and that includes Dodge City, which you've heard of. 15. Which famous Native American chief led the Nez Perce during their attempted escape to Canada? A. Chief Joseph, B. Crazy Horse, or C. Geronimo? The answer is A. Chief Joseph. He was the leader of the Nez Perce tribe and is best remembered for his role in leading the people on this long, arduous journey to escape U.S. forces and reach Canada. Now, of course, they were eventually forced to surrender, but his leadership became legendary. 16. What was the primary mode of transportation for pioneers traveling the Oregon Trail? A. Horseback, B. Covered wagons, or C. Trains? Hey, if you ever played the game, you know it's B. Covered wagons. You have to decide how many wagon wheels and axles to buy before you leave. So that is that. 17. Four more questions. Which of these figures was not an outlaw of the Wild West? A. Jesse James, B. Doc Holliday, or C. Butch Cassidy? The answer is B. Doc Holliday. He was a dentist and a gambler who became famous for his role in the gunfight at the OK Corral alongside Wyatt Earp. Although he was involved in the shootouts, he was not considered an outlaw like Jesse James or Butch Cassidy. 18. Which was the first national park established in the United States, located in the Wild West? A. Yosemite, or as our former president says, Yosemite, B. Grand Canyon, or C. Yellowstone? The answer is C. Yellowstone. Yellowstone National Park was established in 1872, first national park in the U.S. 19. Which was the primary role of a sheriff in the Wild West? Was it A. to collect taxes, B. to enforce law and order, and C. to manage land disputes? The answer, B. to enforce law and order. Sheriffs in the Wild West were responsible for maintaining law and order in towns and counties. And your final question, and this involves our topic of the episode. Here's your question. How did the residents of Palisade, Nevada benefit from their staged events in the 1870s? A. By charging admission fees to watch the shows. B. By attracting more visitors and boosting local business. Or C. By receiving government grants for historical reenactments. If you've listened to the episode, you know it's got to be B. By attracting more visitors and boosting local businesses, because the people never knew that it was fake. So this increased foot traffic. It benefited local businesses, and visitors would then spend money at local shops, saloons, and hotels. This contributed to the economy of Palisade, Nevada. So how did you do? I want to know. Out of 20, who got all 20 right? I doubt anyone got all 20 right, but if you did, let me know. I'm curious. I'll send you something free in the mail. I really want to know how people did on this. Anyway, that's all for this week. Thank you so much for tuning in. Here's the voice of Alvin Kittleby.
Thank you for listening to The Internet Says It's True. To listen to episodes ad-free and a week early, support us on Patreon. You can do that at patreon.com/Michael Kent. If you learned something just now that you didn't already know, go to the Apple Podcast app and leave us a review with 5 stars and a few words. That helps us a ton, because that's how the algorithm works. I don't know what an algorithm is, but just do it. See you next week for a brand new episode of The Internet Says It's True!
The Internet Says It's True would like to thank the Patreon subscribers whose monthly contributions help to make this show possible. Sean Brown, Joshua Endres, Dallas Ray, Bryce Swanson, Eugene Anderson, Jim and Joanne Martin, Mitch and Andrew Joseph Kemplin, and the show's official Emperor, Kick Track. The show is written and produced by me, Michael Kent. The theme song is by Finite Music Forge, and all audio clips in this episode are used for education and commentary and used under Fair Use Title 17 U.S.C. Section 107. You can listen to past episodes by searching for The Internet Says It's True wherever you get your podcasts, and you can see bonus content at patreon.com/Michael Kent.